Hey everybody, and welcome to another Division video. I just wanted to make this video just to show you my builds that I run in the raid. I constantly run the raid to help new people and people that can't find groups over on my Twitch channel. And I get a lot of questions in my chat saying, what build are you running? You know, how can I hit so hard? Am I raid ready? And things like that. Now, my builds are nowhere near perfect. I think I can min-max a lot more on them. But I think some people kind of over prepare for the raid, so I wanted to kind of do just a quick video just to show my build, you know, show the kind of things that you just have to get near, so that if you do join a competent raid group anyway, you're ready for it. You know, you're not underspec, or you're not grinding for weeks and weeks on end for no real reason. You know, you don't have to be completely min-maxed to be able to do the raid. Yes, of course it's going to help, but you know, don't put yourselves off min-maxing too hard and then going into the raid over prepared essentially. So first of all, this is my headshot build. I run a headshot berserk build. So this might not be for everybody. I guess a lot of people kind of choose either running berserk and running a health build, or they run unstoppable force and they run an armor build. Either will work. I don't know if I've got an unstoppable force build on here. I have. That's nowhere near perfect, so I probably won't show you, but in fact I'll show you a little bit later. So this is my build for my headshot build. Now this could be quite easily adapted into a damage to elites build, and literally just by doing two things: changing the talents on my gloves and changing the talents on my holster to hard hitting. I could essentially drop a bit of health as well on my chest piece, depending on how comfortable you are. If I could drop off this and make that hard hitting as well, you could hit that a little bit harder and kill enemies a little bit faster. I like to be around 200k, so you know, if I got a chest piece where I was able to go berserk hard hitting but sustain 200k, I probably would switch to it. So standard for me is the sharpshooter specialization. Having an eagle bearer, being lucky enough to have gotten one, it just helps with the stability. Essentially that's why I'm running overlap on this gun as well. I very rarely use this gun. It's just there for the overlap talent to give me a bit of extra stability. My mask is probably min-maxed, if I'm honest. High health, high damage to elites with hard hitting. Also Murakami for the 8% health there as well. Chest piece, this is where you can probably mix things up a little bit. So assault rifle damage because it's Fenris. High-ish weapon damage. You know, not very high critical hit chance, and a good chunk of health. Berserk, which is obviously what I need, and then vital for some extra health with the offensive mod slot. If I was going to change anything, like I said before, I would change vital out for hard hitting. Apart from that, probably wouldn't change much. But you could run a three red attribute chest if you had a defensive mod slot. Perhaps if I got one. I know I do have one. That's got a utility, that's no good. Must be on another character. I do have one, but it takes me down to about 160k health, which some people are comfortable running within the raid if you're you know, a bit of a veteran. But I prefer to stay around 200k. Holster, this is where you're going to get a lot more health here. So you can get around 42k, I think, health on a holster. But they won't roll with precise. You have to put precise on it if you want headshot damage. Backpack, again, this is something that can have multiple combinations, but the Wyvern can roll 2 passive talents, or the 511 can roll 2 passive talents. I do kind of like the 5% protection from elites. I think it's a little bit underrated. I tend to squeeze it on some of our mods if I can. It does make you much more tankier. So a good chunk of weapon damage, although yes, that could be higher. A good chunk of health, and again, yes, it could be higher. Critical hit damage is what lets this backpack down. Ideally, I would like it to be critical hit chance, but I had to roll. I rolled vital onto it, and then hard hitting. Ideally, you want a backpack that rolls vital and hard hitting already, and then you can mess with these talents here with an offensive mod slot, where essentially you just stack as much more weapon damage as you can. But again, you know, nowhere near perfect. I've got this one here, you know, a big chunk of health on this one. It's got some critical hit damage, which is rubbish, and critical hit chance. I guess they kind of go hand in hand a little bit, but essentially destructive is worth nothing on this backpack, so again, unfortunately, no good. Let's have a look at my gloves. So in the gloves, the Araldi gloves, we got the 10% assault rifle damage, which is pretty damn good, but obviously I had to roll precise on it because I was rolling a headshot build. And then this is where you make up some more health here. So, you know, nearly 20k health on the attribute, hard hitting, 2 defensive mod slots, which essentially again to stack in more health to get up to around 200k, which is kind of my comfy spot. So look at the stats. Puts me at nearly 29k weapon damage on my Eagle Bearer. 18.5% crit chance and crit damage, which I'm not bothered, but 95% headshot damage, which is where I want to be. Like I said, perhaps if you were on console, you would roll these more into hard hitting, and maybe the chest piece into hard hitting, and go that way. Perhaps roll one to the weapon damage talent, the 5% weapon damage talent instead, because obviously too much damage to elites the damage will start dropping off once you get over 100%. So you might find it might be worth experimenting with in the shooting range to see if changing that to weapon damage you get a bit more damage out of your gun, a bit more DPS. But that's kind of it. And you know, as long as you're kind of around that, you know, obviously you must have 50k health for the Weasel fight, and as long as you're at 200k armor, 50k health, I'd say you were fine. 200k health and whatever armor that leaves you with, obviously I'm more than fine. But people do tend to overstat when they're getting ready for the raid, and like I said before, there's necessarily nothing wrong with that, but I don't want people putting off content that they could be enjoying for too long, because let's face it, the grind in this game can be horrible sometimes. The RNG is just not rewarding at times, and then that'll put people off being ready for the raid and then not necessarily even getting a chance to run it. If I flick to my Unstoppable Force build, which I was playing around with, let me have a quick look if this is yeah, so I was trying to get up to like 400k armor on this build, and run spotter and on the ropes for extra weapon damage. But again, you could take this into the raid. Ideally I'd want a bit more damage to elites on the holster, but it would be fine. You know, I've got Unstoppable Force, I've got spotter on, it would just work. You know, there's all the blues will be stacking, apart from where they can't stack armor. They'll be stacking armor, the mods will be stacking armor. That has not even got a mod in it for now. This was a work in progress. It's a util. Stick something random in. Well, I guess I was seeing if I could unlock yeah, on the ropes. But again, you could take that in, it would be fine stat wise. You know, it's quite a significant amount of weapon damage less than my headshot build, but don't forget you're going to gain a lot of damage from spotter, 20% there, and on the ropes stacks with it, so there's another 20%, 25% there as well, which will essentially probably bring it up on par with my headshot build. So if you like sitting in cover, you know, this is probably much more a build for you. The Berserk builds are much more out of cover, running around. This build's probably a much more sitting in cover. Maybe like a circle, you're on the circle, sitting in the circles on Razorback, things like that. Skill build, I wouldn't take this into the raid. Skills essentially don't work very well, but if you look at it, it would survive in the raid if you were essentially being carried, and you would be able to do some damage, I guess, but not very much. With this one, explosive damage would probably be the most useful on Buddy and Lucy if you ran Demolitionist. And then this is my Aces build with my SVD that I use missing somewhere else, but again, 200k armor, nearly 100k health, and this works absolutely fine. In fact, this is a bit of an animal. If I show you the stats, this is probably one of my better builds. So nearly 80k weapon damage, 46 crit chance with 30% crit damage, 180% headshot damage. You know, a bunch of extra marksman rifle damage there as well, Where was the damage to elites? No damage to elites on it, obviously, I don't think. No, 56% damage to elites. Oh, that's because the mask is pretty god roll, actually. Yeah, 46% on the mask. But essentially, weapon damage is stacked everywhere on this, and then crit chance everywhere else, and headshot damage. Ideally, I would like this to be headshot damage and weapon damage. I think I've got one here. Yeah, which I'm going to give a go. I will roll this crit hit damage into weapon damage, and then see which comes out on top. I'm guessing this one, when I roll this to weapon damage, will be more sustainable. That one will probably peak because of the crit chance, but you know, it depends how good you are at hitting your headshots. And then I've got my clutch build with my weapon missing, but you can just ignore that for now. But it's because I've been swapping characters when I've been running 4 characters through the raid. And essentially all this build was for Buddy and Lucian for holding Buddy in place. But because it runs clutch and it had 150k health, it could stand in front of Buddy, and basically just because he hits so slow, you constantly regain your health back from the talent clutch, which is there. So essentially, you know, even with the low health build, you know, it's fight dependent, but you can stay alive. You know, you don't necessarily need to over gear and over min max to be okay at the build, at the raid. The video really was just to kind of answer some questions that I get thrown in my Twitch chat, so hopefully this is a better overview of what I run. If you do need help with the raid, if you're new to the raid or you're struggling to find a regular group that can take you through on a Thursday, come and see us over on Twitch/DJTICKLE. And if you liked this content, please hit that subscribe button. Every subscription does help. Thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.